right. So just as we are getting started here, so everybody's kind of logging in and finding their way here. Let's get that going, see if that works. Okay, so okay, so we're not going to live stream today because that's not working. So that's okay. Haven't done that for a while. Great to see you, Karen. It's been a while. Good to have you on. I've been thinking about you all week because I'm at my mom's actually. So we'll have to see if we can get together if you're home while I'm here. Okay, so let's just get started as people are popping in. Just wanted to get you guys to comment as we begin, like why cleanse? Why did this intrigue you, or why do you why do you feel like you need to cleanse at this particular time? What's your motivation for being here? And you can say it out loud, you can type it in the chat, whatever works for you.
I think it's always for me is a reset on my body, and it helps me get rid of stuff that I shouldn't be doing. That's why I say a reset, so you can start off in almost a new routine and carry on hopefully after the cleanse, and then these bad habits always come back.
They creep back in somehow, right? Right. Yeah. Anybody else? What are you noticing? What are you feeling?
Hi, Krista. It's Kelly.
Kelly, great to see you.
Good to see you too. I'm doing it for my immune system because I'm finding that a lot of sinus issues going on and getting colds easier and stuff. So I really want to bump up my immune system right now.
Yeah.
Especially coming into the winter, with all the things people are passing around and whatnot. So I just want to try to be a little bit stronger for that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that season, right?
It sure is. Yeah.
Good. Anybody else have something that they're feeling in their bodies?
I've been finding that I've been eating a lot of sugar. We had a special family event at the beginning of August, and those events, it's nice to indulge and have treats, and then it's just a treat. It's just a treat. And anyways, I've been finding I've been eating a lot of sugar and finding that it just changes my energy. I know I feel better when I'm eating far less sugar than what I'm eating now. And I thought, the cleanse is a good way to be deliberate in planning my food and enjoying good food and not feeling deprived that, I should be having a treat. So anyways, I'm looking forward to focusing on 1 week at a time, and then not trying to reduce my sugar.
And it becomes kind of this, when we have those like instances where it's okay, sugar is like addictive, right? So once we start having it, it's really hard to like get off that train again, right? So unless you have that full like reset on our sugar aspect, right? It's coming into that. Good one, Karen. And it's nice too, I do like the fall cleanse season for that, and we'll talk about why that is, but it's almost, as you say, you don't feel deprived of it because a lot of the fall foods that we would eat seasonally have those natural sugars in it, right? So it kind of appeases that. So it's a good way to break ourselves of that habit in a nice, gentle format, right?
I put coffee and sugar in the same category. You start one day and they're addictive. Like the next day you need that hit.
Yeah, totally. You kind of get on this little roller coaster of going through, right? Yeah. Good. Okay. Sheila, did you have anything that you were going to say in there?
Oh, it's interesting because everything everyone said, there's a thread of it, of course, within myself. And interesting, the other day, I dehydrated some plums that were getting a little bit past their time in the fridge. And as Jeff eats very clean, my husband. And so he went to bite into this plum and he's like, oh my God, this is so great. I'm like, it is? Because I had the wrong sugar, or maybe not. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sure. Okay. So, and I just realized I'm advancing my slides on my view and not your view. So let me do that. If I can figure out how to do that. There we go. Okay, so coming into this aspect of the fall cleanse, right, in terms of what that is. And so fall cleanse is, as you guys have stated, it's all about boosting our immune levels, right? It's kind of one of the big things in there. It's also all about calming our stress levels, right? That fall, there's an agitation that gets in the air with the wind and so forth. And we'll talk about why that is. How to avoid disease or dis-ease building in your body. Right? This is a prime time for that to build up, not just in the fall cold and flu season, but just in general coming in. And you have done a cleanse before, right? And didn't stick to it. And that's okay, right? Just let that be, let it go to the side, because it might not have been the right cleanse for you. You may not have had the proper support as you're going through that. You may not have had a big enough why as to why we're going through this. We're going to work through, as we set ourselves up for our cleanse, we're going to work through all of these different pieces to make sure that it's the right thing for you in this time period, right? You might feel like, you don't want to eat anything, or you've been on a cleanse before and you're just craving foods, or you're starving, or it's restrictive and not fun. And this is not that, right? And the way we approach it is very different to that approach, right? This isn't a starve yourself type of a cleanse. And maybe you've done a cleanse that didn't really do anything before, right? So I've done lots of different Ayurvedic cleanses, and the traditional Ayurvedic cleanse is like a khichdi cleanse where you eat, and it is beautiful. It's this rice lentil dish with a bunch of spices. I did it for years, just like for the habit of doing it, but I didn't necessarily feel any different coming out of it. And then as I, learned more about different ways to cleanse and about my body and what's going on, I discovered that one of the things that was going on for me was I was having histamine reactions, and legumes being one of the big triggers. So of course, doing a lentil cleanse was not going to serve me or make any changes within my body at that time. So there's times when that's appropriate, and there's times when there's something else that's more appropriate for you, right? So we're going to, look at some of those things and dive deeper into that to figure out what's the right thing for you to do. And it can change seasonally. It can change throughout, what's going on in your body within all of that, right? So your body gives you just a ton of clues as to what's going on, right? So our intuition is this muscle that we're going to use to decipher these clues, right? We also have all this great ancient wisdom, and we've got some new modern science things that are coming in. We're going to weave all of those together to make this like the right thing. We're going to take advantage of everything that we've got at our disposal, right? So I want you just to think warm soups by a cozy fire. Think taking the time for you, right? Having excuse to take it easy, to look after yourself. Think like luxurious self-care. One of the things that I love about the cleanse is that it's kind of an excuse period for me and my own, voices in my head that no, I'm doing this, and it's okay to say no to that and there's a time frame to it. It's easier to get through things if there's a time frame there. But also that excuse for the family. It's like, oh, no, I'm on a cleanse, or for the friends, right? To say, no, I can't do that because I'm doing something else right now, right? So it kind of gives you that good excuse as we go through that. Okay. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Krista, right? Krista Strayer, and I am actually a mechanical engineer by training. And I found yoga one day through desperation, really. And I had a bad back from sitting way too long at a desk. And I got attracted to a younger yoga, which is very therapeutic. There's a lot of angles. It's a very evidence-based approach. So it kind of pacifies that engineering side of my brain. But I also found that yoga wasn't enough on its own. So even teaching yoga and all the stuff that I was doing, I still wasn't getting, moving that needle on my health the way I wanted it to. And that's when I found Ayurveda. I started doing a lot of, discovery into Ayurveda and training in Ayurveda. And it really became that way of like looking at everything and putting all those pieces together in my body. Right. So I'm a curious George type of personality. I'm curious. That's my engineering side that comes in. Right. And I always felt there's a little bit of dichotomy there. There's my Jekyll and Hyde sides where I have this yogi that like can be totally like woo woo on that scale. And then I have this engineering brain. And so kind of not totally fitting into either one of those worlds, but with this new science and this new stuff that's coming out now that's validating all these ancient wisdom theories and all that, it's really allowing me to kind of come into that true self and kind of put all these pieces together. So it's kind of like it's allowed me to embrace this fabric of my true nature. And through this process, I want to, help you guys embrace the fabric of your true nature and understanding what's right for you on this. Okay. I'm also a person who loves to enjoy life, right? I'm a firm believer of the 80-20 principle, right? And I'm not an absolute person in any way, shape, or form. Right. And Sheila, who's on this call, has coined the phrase the flexitarian, right? And it's a beautiful way to describe it. That I am not going to be 100% vegetarian. I'm not going to be 100% gluten-free because life happens, right? And I want to enjoy it in all those different moments that it's there. And this is where cleanses become really helpful, right? So that not everything is going to be healthy. So don't put me ever on that pedestal in terms of that. I love my glass of wine. I love that occasional croissant. I love chocolate. I love chocolate croissants, especially, right? Because that's what life's about, right? But all that stuff adds up over time, especially kind of after the summer. There's a lot of stuff. We just have more daytime to play with. We have more fun time to play with in the summer. And that can get a little bit out of that, where it's appropriate at times, right? And then I also believe that we're on this continual journey. And that wellness is a continual journey, right? And it's a series of tiny little steps, right? It's those 1% improvements that add up over time. And so every time that I do a cleanse, it's like I'm taking that next little step up, right? There's one thing that I can take with me from the cleanse to carry forward. Right. And so we're going to think about this as we go on our journey. We're going to circle back to this a few times because we can't really say what that one thing is going to be as we start off with. We could have an intention that, okay, I'm going to take this with it, but it always ends up something a little bit different. And those of you who've done cleanses with me before, understand that and know that it's, at the end, there's that one thing that carries forward, that one little step that we made up. And it also gives us permission to let the other stuff go, right? So we're going to look at success in this as we come out of this is when you take that one thing forward and you also give yourself permission to let the rest like fall away, so to speak, if we can pardon the pun on that in this season. And know that you don't have to do it all today. You don't have to do it all, period. We're just going to look at what's right for you in the moment without adding a bunch of stress into your life, because that's never helpful, right? To add that in there. Okay, so is this right for you? Is this the right spot for you to be spending your time with me this week, right? Hopefully you will. And I'm loving being able to be here with you guys. But is this the right place? And I want you guys to honor that within you. And so number one is, are you open to natural things, right? Are you open to believing that health is more than a pill that we take? Right? Are you open to believing that you have the power to be healthy, to be healthier in what you do? And perhaps you're looking for some solutions. Maybe you're experiencing some pain in your body. Maybe you've got some digestive issues that are going on, some sleep challenges, some hormone stuff that's, flaring up, particularly after the summer. That can be a big one. Perhaps you want to feel younger in your body. Perhaps you're looking forward and you want to feel young in your body when you're 80 and 90 and have that longevity that you can enjoy life to the fullest for all of those years, right? And then you want that solution for that doesn't come from that bottle, a solution that's not going to cause a bunch more issues in your body as you do that. And so if you're intrigued by this ancient wisdom and you can trust that there's something there for you in this moment, right? But you also like that fact that science is kind of backing up the wisdom that we've known for centuries. All right, so this is kind of this place where we believe that Mother Nature has our back, right? And that we could use Mother Nature in a lot of different ways to heal a lot of different things. So this is kind of speaking to you on this one, then absolutely, this is going to be a wonderful week for us to hang out together on this. Okay, so this week, what's it all about? And we're going to take it in small little steps. And this is exactly how I structure when I'm working with my clients. Our first week of a cleanse looks just like this first week, looks like with all of us here together. Looking at, taking things one step at a time, one day at a time, just little tiny pieces that we can kind of piece it through. Of course, if you're listening to this and you're binge watching all of the videos later, you can do it in those little tiny steps. You can kind of get caught up in a relatively short time. But we also want to just like allow yourself the space to kind of do this. So today is all about fall and why it's so important as a season in our bodies, right? It's not the typical cleanse season, but there's a reason why in Ayurveda that it is, right? Tomorrow or Tuesday, we're going to look at you. Tomorrow's all about you day, and it's what's out of balance in you, what's going on in your body, and what do you need this fall. And then Wednesday, we're going to look at all of the detox rituals and the tools, that kind of smorgasbord of what's available to us to tap into in this season. And then Thursday, you can want to miss Thursday. Make sure you're live for this one because that's where we're going to put it all together, right? We're going to go through your plan and figure out what's best for you as we go through this, right? And through it all, as we get started here, we're going to open up some of your detox pathways, okay? And then Friday, we'll have a special little bonus class. I've got a couple of ideas on that, but it's going to be very much tailored to the group and what the group is needing on that. So we'll kind of step into that as we go forward. All right. So basically, as humans, we as a species, we're out of sync with nature. And everything else that is around us kind of maintains this rhythm. Right? All the other species that are here, the plants, the animals, everything there has a certain rhythm that it follows with Mother Nature. When to get up, when to eat, when to hibernate, what to eat in what season. But since electricity, the human species, we don't have to listen, right? We don't have to pay attention to what Mother Nature does anymore because we can refrigerate our food, we can freeze our food, we can turn the lights on when it's midnight, when it's dark out. We don't have to be connected to those natural cycles of life anymore. But when we do that, as we're disconnected, we are harming ourselves and we're bringing dis-ease into our bodies, right? I think the closest we come to being connected to nature's rhythms is if you happen to be a dog owner and you have to take that dog for a walk, or they prompt you to getting out at a certain time of the day and kind of doing that and getting moving. That, for me, that's my biggest, instigator of being connected to the rhythm. And that's one of the things I'm going to actually have you guys do. Starting today is, going for a walk at the same time every day, because especially in this fall season, where a lot of things are happening, right? That our light is changing, things are harvesting, the leaves are changing color. We have all these different sensory inputs. And if you can tap into that by going for a walk at the same time every day, it's going to help naturally align your body to back to nature's rhythms again, right? Within that. It's also the season. So fall is that season of harvesting, right? It's that season of storing away. So it is this season where we can put back those deposits into our own energy bank, our own lifeline bank. So you can think of it. You can think of that lifeline on your hand. And this season and what we're going to do to nourish ourselves in this season is adding to that lifeline. It's growing that lifeline. The flip side is also true. If you ignore fall, you're taking away from that lifeline. And what you're able to, those energy reserves that you have stored up within you. Okay, so we can kind of look at, where are we out of sync? How much do we owe within our system on that? Okay, so we have this perfect time, really this perfect time of being able to step into this harvest, but also this perfect time where I believe science is really validating our ancient wisdom so we can have that bigger sense of belief in the things that we do, this bigger understanding of why the things we do work, right, in terms of that. And this ability to like look at this big whole picture, right? So just like I found that yoga wasn't the one thing that was going to fix everything for me, it takes a little bit of everything to get, you can't just do one thing. You could eat as healthy as you can, but don't have proper movement, and your body's still going to be out of whack, right? You could move as much as you want and not be eating. You can do all these things in isolation. You can live in this bubble, but not be in community. And you don't have all the pieces, right? So it takes that whole picture of what we have available to us. Okay. And this is kind of that perfect time as we step into this in the fall. Even more so, I kind of love I love both the fall and the spring cleanses, but fall has kind of got a special place in my heart, and partly because that's my season as well. Okay. So I love this little picture of the little red squirrel here. Right. And giving ourselves our little nuts, our tools to keep us healthy all year long, right? This is our opportunity to do that. And I think we can look back that the last few years have been a strain on us, right? Physically, our immune systems, emotionally, there's been just a lot of conflict and drama and all these just little things that have been adding up within us. And things there'll always be things that are going to be challenging in our world, right? If we're real about this, there's always going to be a new challenge coming in, but it's a matter of being prepared, right? So it's up to you. Your health's in your power. You hold that all within your hands. So let's use this season to kind of build up our reserves, think squirrels and acorns, and gathering what you need around you so that we have that for the winter that's ahead. Okay. So what is fall? Like, what exactly is it? Anybody have some words that you like to describe fall? And Sheila's got some good pictures in our chat about fall. I love that, Sheila.
Well, actually, it was interesting because I started to do that where I got up in the morning and, and I had set this intention earlier, like in the summer. And then when it got dark,
yeah,
I was like, I watched Dateline and something's going to happen out here. No, I'm kidding. And then stepping into something, I mean, I'm an adult, like a walk in the dark, but I've been doing this now, well, since it's been dark in the morning, and it's unexplainable how beautiful it is. Like it's right outside our, and no one's out there except the porcupines or the coyotes or the moose, right? But
yeah, and no matter where you live, like whether you're in a city or whatever, there's going to be those beautiful moments of like being able to watch the sun come up or go down. Yeah, I love that. Is it Renata, or how do you pronounce that? Yeah. So being in relationship with your garden, right? And the harvest, the abundance that we get from that. It's such a special time, right? And the preserving and the kind of looking to the futures. It's that whole storing up of our reserves within that. I love that analogy.
I was thinking exactly the same thing as Renata, but another element to it too is kind of similar to what Sheila is, trying to enjoy as much as we can before the fall is past and we're into winter season. So going out for the hikes, enjoying the colors, enjoying that sort of thing, and trying to squeeze it in between all the garden cleanup and work, preparing for the winter as well. So I look at it, a lot of it is preparing for the winter, but in a positive way.
Totally, right. And enjoying that, being, that season of abundance, right? And beauty, right? And all the fall leaves that are there, and everything that we're blessed with. Even as the world is kind of, dying off, there's still all these blessings that are there, this beauty in this season. I love that. Yeah. So I want you to think, anybody else? Any thoughts on that?
Sorry, Krista, I had to attend to something. What was the question?
So what
Can I ask the question again?
What does fall mean to you? What do you think of when you think of fall?
I think of the stunning colors everywhere and how they seem to be like there's a lot of golds, and that represents a happy color. Like it's a cheerful color. And I think that it gives a little bit more eye candy when you're looking out your windows and you can actually take those colors in, and it's just a different perspective when you think of that. And I think that's what it really resonates with me is just the color. I'm a really color person. And yeah, I think it just feels like more cheer, more happy. And I think that the cleanse represents that as well as, and, definitely I like the cooler temperatures. I'm not a hot weather person. Yeah.
And it's too, and I like that, Caitlin, is that bringing us into balance, right? So this beauty around us, the colors, the foods, but it's also this, we had this hot summer, and there's places in the world, and I know where everybody's living. You guys can put in the chat where you're living, as well within that. But here in Canada, we have seasons, right? And we get to enjoy those seasons. And we've got pretty distinct, all over within the seasons. But it is nice to have this, this balance to our seasons, that we have this active time where we get to go and we make the most of it, right? And then we have this slower going inside season, right? And being able to, balance that off with something with that slower pace, with that more inner work type season, right? The less busyness, the less hectic place. And I agree with that. I love these shoulder seasons, right? I love my sports. I love my golf in the summertime, and I love my skiing in the winter. And they're both pretty full on and pretty active. And so these shoulder seasons, when neither one of them is as busy, I just cherish that time, right? Is that season where it's just a little less busy. You don't have the Christmas season or all of that kind of less pressure kind of going on with that as well. I love that. Okay, so think of this, and people can still like add in as we're talking here, but think of it as a fall day, right? And so we have these crisp, dry leaves crunching underfoot. Feel that cool, brisk wind. Notice that clear, bright blue sky. All of the variability on the leaves that are around you, and the multitude of colors that are there. And those leaves that are light as a feather, just simply blowing in the wind, drifting down on the wind. And the rough bark of the tree is once again exposed or laid bare. It's a season of change, of letting go. It's a season of going within. It's subtle, right? It's not as vibrant and active as the summer. It's not as full on intense, but it's subtle. It's there's still beauty within it. And think, while these words might seem kind of poetic, they actually hold our key to healing. These words hold the key to staying in balance. So when we look at the Ayurveda definition of fall, it is dry, it is cold, it's brisk, it's windy, subtle, variable, rough, it's light, it's clear, it's mobile. It's all of those things. And you're right, Kelly, it's that opportunity to embrace healthier. I love like the whole, like going back to school cycle routine of getting back on track. And, where summer is, we're active and we're doing healthy things, but this is where we get back into our routines. And we need that. And we're going to talk about why in terms of like our Vata nature coming into place. It's especially important that we do that within this season. Okay, so oops, going backwards, not forwards. There we go. So fall, in Ayurveda language, it would be called our Vata season, right? And it is, Vata shows up with us annually. So the fall season, it shows up in our life cycles. So if we were looking at, going through our life, we have your spring season, your like middle years, and then fall is also our Vata season, is those wisdom years coming through, right? And it also shows up in our daily aspects, right? And I was talking to a client earlier today, and they talked about how they woke up super early and all this like big download of information and ideas coming through with that. And that's our early in the morning is our Vata time, right? So it's those early morning hours just before dawn where things are, and Sheila, you mentioned this when you went for your walk and how wonderful the world is in that time of day. That's our Vata time of day, right? So tapping into that as well on that side. So Vata, this concept of the Vata season is there within the world, right? In terms of fall. It's there in terms of our life cycle, in terms of wisdom years. In terms of there in our day, in those more spiritual or connecting times of our day. And it's also there within our personalities, right? So we have a little bit of Vata there within us. So Ayurveda has this concept of the elements. I don't have a slide for this one, but I'll share this with you maybe next. I'll make sure I've got a slide for this tomorrow. But with the fire and the earth and the water element, but Vata season is air and ether or space, right? So it's giving us ourselves that space to be into that season. So one of the first things we're going to do within this is a little exercise of awareness is what is your dosha, right? So what is your innate dosha? What is your natural state of being? Okay, so some of us are Vatas, some of us are what we call a Pitta, or your summer season, and some are Kapha, which is the spring season. Okay, and this is kind of like the language of Ayurveda and how to, make sense of things, how to, understand. Our whole week is about understanding what does your body need this season, right? Part of that is going to be what is your body, your innate body. What do you typically need? Part of it's going to be what's out of balance. We can talk about that tomorrow. But how does this relate? And then we have our fall seasonality, right? And this is, when I discovered Ayurveda, it was the biggest thing I found that helps me figure out what advice is right for me, right, or for you. And it simplifies things. So another client I was talking with later last week was talking about they had a dry cough. They were experiencing this dry cough in this season, which is totally true. And that awareness of, oh yeah, in the spring, when I have these feelings, it's a mucousy, phlegmy kind of a feeling. But my cough in the fall is more this dry aspect to it. And thinking back to all those different words that were characterized in our season, right? And we would treat them totally different, with different herbs, with different spices, with different essential oils, right? And a whole different focus on how we're going to do that. So if you know your dosha, I'll have you put that in the chat. If you don't know your dosha, this is going to be part of our homework. Actually, I've got a link here. I can put it in the chat to go find that. I've got a super fun little dosha quiz that you guys can do within that, and that's here. So if you haven't done it yet, and you don't have to do it right away, but this will be your homework for today is to do that. If you do know, or actually you can do it right away, and then you'll get your little percentages, and that might be interesting for us to do. So if you haven't done it already, do that. If you do know your dosha, feel free to type that into the chat. And we'll just kind of look at some of those aha moments, right? That'll be our aha moment for today. And what does that dosha mean for you coming into that? And Kelly, yes, mostly Pitta and some Kapha coming into that. And we can see that, for those of you who are watching the recording here, Kelly's has red hair, right? She's got complexion. So that's kind of a giveaway a little bit on our Pitta fiery season coming in there. And Kelly also has these big, gorgeous, beautiful eyes and complexion, which is her Kapha nature coming through. So it kind of comes into a lot of being on that. One of my clients that I've worked with, when she discovered she was a Kapha, was like, oh, that makes so much sense. I had a lot of colds and allergies growing up. And that was her Kapha side and her nature within that. Myself, I'm half and half Pitta Vata, right? Exactly half and half, with just 1% Kapha in my body. So I am, when I was an engineer, when I took the tests, I was more Pitta. When I take a test, I'm more Vata. And that, they can change a little bit over time, but they're basically the same. They're kind of neck and neck on that. My Pitta is that, intense, that, overachiever, that, very directive engineer side of me. My Vata is that spiritual, that yoga teacher side of me. I'm always in motion. I'm always moving. If you ask me to go someplace, I'm going to run. My husband is always telling me, you can slow down. Like when we're golfing, you don't have to run to take your shot. It's like, well, I actually like that, right? That's just who I am, right? I run from place to place. But it's part of your nature, right? And understanding that just gives you this place to accept those parts of you, right? And accept why you do some of the things that we do on that, which is a beautiful space to be in for that. Mostly kapha. Oh, good, Renata. I'd like to have that awareness on that. And so spring is going to be your typical season. Tomorrow we're going to go through some imbalances within our bodies, because even though we have our innate nature of who we are, someone who's predominantly kapha may have a Vata imbalance going on. And so actually pre-COVID, just about everybody had a Vata imbalance going on, because just overstimulation, too busy, doing too many things. That is one of the blessings that we got out of COVID, is people toned things down a notch, right? It was okay to stay home more, right? It was okay to not do all of the things. And so that helped bring our, as a society, our Vata imbalances more in line on that. So in terms of a kapha nature, that is earth and water, right? And so you're more grounded, you're more connected to the earth. Probably taps into why you love gardening so much, right? Coming into that space. It helps to ground you within. That's where you kind of feel at home in that space. But sometimes it also can be hard to make changes, right? Hard to like switch. Sometimes you feel like this is the way you kind of get comfortable with things, right? In terms of going on that straight. But once you make a change, you're really good at keeping and sticking with it, which is beautiful. Where somebody who's more Vata nature makes changes all the time, but has a harder time sticking to them, right? Someone who's Pitta, I'm really quick to make changes and really quick to make decisions and kind of going down along that pathway. I kind of have this joke where if you're in a room, a kapha person, would never change the furniture. The furniture just is where it is. The pitta person might be always kind of looking at where's the best place, like ergonomically and efficiently, to have the furniture arranged, right? And the Vata person, the furniture is just always changing. There's just always a better place to put something, or something different going on within the room. It's kind of like how we do that. Okay. So Caitlin, some kapha and some pitta. Okay, so pretty much kapha pitta, which is a beautiful percentage to have. So your kapha side is that also that ability to make things happen, to bring things into being, to manifest things and to complete things. And the pitta side is that the ability to as a business-wide, as a pitta kapha is a really productive person. They're able to get things done and move things along and have that happen within them. Good. Okay. So there's lots of little awarenesses and we'll talk about these. I'm just going to kind of jot down so that I know what people are. Okay. Perfect. So that as we kind of go along through our week, we can kind of tap into that. That's going to be one piece, one clue as to what's going on within that. Okay. Oops, there's our dosha quiz. Did that one. And so this just gives us this language or this awareness of how we interact with the world, and sometimes how things tend to go out of balance for us, right? So someone who is more pitta in nature may have more, like their eyes might get inflamed. That might be their clue that something's out of balance. They get kind of reddish within the eyes. Someone who's more kapha nature might just feel more congested. Kind of congestion might be their first thing that comes through. Lungs is kind of that area within that. Whereas someone who's more Vata might just feel more overwhelmed or more anxious in nature. So all of that coming into being. So we'll be exploring that throughout our week together, for sure. And we're going to try and keep our calls. We're kind of at the 40-minute marker, trying to keep them within that 30, 30 to 45 minutes as we go through a discussion. Try not to, take up too much of your time in your day, just giving a few things to think about during the day. But is there any questions? And we just basically tapped the tip of the iceberg on this, but any questions about this whole fall cleanse process, or what's the next steps going forward from this, or how our week's going to be set up, or questions about your dosha?
Krista, I'm not available for tomorrow. And so I'm just wondering, you're recording this one. Will you be recording the next one and then sending us the link so I can view the meeting after I get home from work?
Yep, absolutely. So everything will be recorded. You guys will get a link after today. And there'll be like a whole little menu. You can just like click from one to the other. So if you have to go back into things, and I'll also have any of the links that we talk about on each of those pages as well. So you can kind of go through that. So yeah, it'll all be there for you. Good question. Yeah. Anybody else? Any ahas from today, or any things that you're taking with you so far from today?
It just feels right. I don't know if that's a thing to say, but it just feels like as it should be. Like there was a meditation I listened to recently, and or a talk, and they were saying that, we have these apps and everything that tell us when the moon's doing whatever it does, or, notifications of when the time changes. So if going out for these morning walks, to circle back to the beginning of your you sharing, is that when we start to be present, the body, if we are able to listen, because there is a lot of noise and it is a gift, that it just seems natural.
Good. That's exactly what we're looking for, right?
Yes,
we want it
5
to
points.
Yeah, 5 points. We want it to be easeful, right? So I don't want to throw a bunch of stuff at you. And it brings to mind, we do this essential oil like treatment. I do this quite often on my daughter or something. That can be one for immunity or your back or whatever that is. We always start off with frankincense oil, right? And it's just that space of trust. So I want you to think of this as kind of today's session as being that first little place of trust and stepping forward, right? So there's not huge steps from today. It's just this level of awareness, this sense that you're in the right place, and the sense of this right feeling, right, from today. So that'll be your homework, is to go for that walk. If you have some frankincense oil, go put that on and kind of breathe that in. I've got the one I was putting on myself before we started. It was a forest bathing blend, right? So thinking of that as we, go out into the woods, go out into nature today, and just notice what fall feels like. That's your homework. Just notice the crispness in the air, the dry brittleness to the leaves. You kick up some leaves, like hear that sound around you. See if, smell, what does the fall smell like to you? Just get that climatized to what is fall, right? What do we step
So I get to go for another walk.
You get to go for another walk, Sheila. Powder's so impressed.
Yeah. Well, and it's also walking with purpose, like, getting a workout in, but it's not about the workout, maybe in the mind or the heart or the spirit, is that, walking from the heel toe and spreading, when you just say, the crispness of the air and the crunching of the leaves, spreading the feet within my shoes, even, was very interesting. And it's quiet.
One of the elements, the things about Vata, is this feeling of being ungrounded, right? There's a lot of change happening, right? And so the way to counteract that, to feel grounded, would actually just be to notice, like just notice your feet hitting the ground, right? To notice all the things around us is one, like bringing you into that present moment. But you can also just notice as your foot touches the ground, like feel it connect with the ground. Quite often we'll walk and we don't even like notice that our feet are touching the ground, right? Or can't even feel that. So step into that place where you can just feel each foot, each step as you go. That's your like another way to get extra points for today's homework, right? So tomorrow we want to make sure we know what your dosha is, and B, make sure you just like go and sense what fall is, like feel into that. Maybe come back with some more new words as to what fall means to you as we get together tomorrow.
Well, it's been neat seeing the animals too, like come out and they're behaving differently. Like it's
Mhm.
really neat to see that because it's quiet in the morning. And so I see these creatures come out that are behaving differently than they typically would if I saw them during the day. So it's
Mhm.
kind of fun to watch those animals.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole nature, like just getting that reconnecting to Mother Nature, being part of Mother Nature's rhythm again, right? Within that.
Krista, I just saw a squirrel running by the fence line with a nut in its mouth, and I thought, wow, it's collecting and it's getting ready for that harvest of the fall
Mhm.
season.
Yeah, absolutely. Good. Any other questions, comments, thoughts before we tap out today? Good.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys. Such a pleasure to be here and connect with you guys. And I look forward to tomorrow. We'll dive deeper into what's going on in your lives, right? What are the physical symptoms and those mental systems and symptoms and things that's going on, and that will really help to pave the way for what your plan is for our cleanse or this nourishment of how you're going to nourish your body this fall. All right, have a great rest of your day, and we will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Krista. Bye.
Thank you, Krista.
Bye.
You're very welcome. Bye-bye.